I'ma take back my title that never lost, yeah. I'ma take back my title that never lost, yeah. I'ma take back my title that never lost, yeah. I'ma take back my title that never lost, yeah. Goodness gracious, man. I'ma take back my title that never lost, yeah. Like, goodness gracious, bro. The booking for Ria and Ripley has gone absolutely off the rails. And before anyone tries to blame Ria Ripley herself, I will say, like I've been saying for a long time now, the booking of Ria Ripley is largely dependent on triple fraudulence. This guy has zero idea how to book Ria Ripley. Sorry, I said book. How to book Ria Ripley. He has no idea what he's doing. He can't book her unless she has a championship belt. And even when she gets it, he still has no idea how to book her. Io Sky's been champion now for going on 3 months. She's had one match since WrestleMania 41, and it was a match on the Raw After Mania versus Stephanie Vaquer that ended in a DQ. Since then, she hasn't been seen to do any matches at all. It is embarrassing. And the one time Triple H rolls her out there is to cut a promo on the mic, which you know that English is not Io Sky's first language. So she goes out there and she struggles on the mic, and you can literally see Rhea Ripley laughing at her while she's cutting the promo. I don't know if Rhea Ripley was laughing at something else. Maybe it's an inside joke between them two or whatever. But this situation was just really stupid, man. Overall, Raw was obviously an absolute disaster. There were a couple things that I thought were pretty good and pretty well done, but obviously there was way more bad than good, and it wasn't close. This was a laughably garbage episode, and instead of, lollygagging around, let's get right into it. So, what do you want to talk about? You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this, all right? First off, we have the Rhea Ripley and Io Sky promo. And I just want to preface again and remind you guys that at Night of Champions, we saw the official graphic that confirms what I've been talking about for months. Rhea Ripley has 34 singles matches in the last 3 years. She barely wrestles, and she has... When's the last time? Can you please tell me the last time she's cut a great promo or told a great story or had an amazing feud? Thank you. Let's move on. Because at the end of the day, she hasn't done it. So we have to just judge it off of what's apparent, and she is an overrated star. She is overrated in the same way that Cody Rhodes is very overrated. They're told to us how many times they're great, and how much of fighting champions they are, and how amazing they are, and how big draws, and all the big pops, and all that stuff. But the actual product, the storytelling, the promos, the matches, which they barely do any of, that they're giving us are not good enough to suffice those claims, and to suffice the booking and the over-pushing of these stars. Now, Rhea Ripley basically comes out, and she gets on the mic. Now, before she can even really say anything, Io Sky's music hits. Io Sky then comes out to the ring, and this is when she cuts just a really bad promo. Now, obviously, like I said, I understand that Io Sky, English is not her first language. However, if you are going to be in the WWE and you are going to have a world championship, you probably should just cut a video promo backstage. Just only do video segments where you can have the subtitles so we can feel the impact of what she is saying, obviously, and also what she is doing. That makes a lot more sense. But Triple H obviously books Io Sky terribly, so not only does he not have her wrestle, which is her strongest suit, she's one of the best women's wrestlers on the planet, he doesn't even have her wrestle, then he throws her out in the ring and has her cut a live mic promo where, some of the stuff that she was saying was incoherent. I couldn't really understand it. She just straight up started speaking Japanese at a point, and she just hyped up the crowd, so the crowd just started chanting. They didn't know what she was saying either, so it's very awkward, man, and it's very weird. Io Sky then basically says, long story short, she basically says Adam Pearce talked to her, and that, her and Rhea Ripley can fight at Evolution because Adam Pearce said that Io Sky can challenge whoever she wants for the belt for Evolution. Now, my question is, why couldn't Adam Pearce tell Io Sky to challenge somebody else for the last 3 months she's been champion and has had no matches? Huh? Why can't she challenge anyone else? You know what I'm saying? Or why is it no? This is the thing. This is the inherent issue with why championships do not matter in WWE anymore. Because when Cody Rhodes was champion, there was never a long line of competitors who were like, man, I'm trying to do whatever I can to get a WWE championship shot. And when Cody Rhodes was champion and had 10 title defenses in nearly 400 days as champion, by the way, this is the issue. Guys like LA Knight, for example, Roman Reigns, who came back from his 4-year championship reign, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, guys like Gunter before he won his world title, Damian Priest after he lost his world title, etc. He's still going after Gunter, I guess, so you can excuse him. But everyone else, like a Jey Uso, for example, or a Braun Breaker who was new on the scene, should want power and glory. All of these different people I'm listing off. Sami Zayn, now he's complaining about, I've never had a world title. You could have gotten one last year after you lost the IC belt, but whatever. It doesn't make any sense. The fact that all these people can be champions for this long and they fight the same opponents lets you know that the titles are meaningless. Because if they mattered and they were prestigious, every single champion or non-champion, regular person on the roster with no gold would be fighting and gunning for these championships. But the fact that no one cares about him is ridiculous. CM Punk has had, how many championship matches has CM Punk had since he's come back to WWE? Like, just ask yourself that question. How many championship matches has Drew McIntyre had since he came back? What, 2 or 3? You know what I'm saying? The last, like, 5 years? Ever since he had a match with Roman at Clash at the Castle for the WWE title in 2022. Since then, what did he do? He had a world title match versus Rollins at Mania, okay? Then he fought Priest to get in a rematch. That's 3. And hasn't had any world title matches since. So that's 3 world title matches for Drew McIntyre in 3 years. And I can't stop thinking about Punk. You know what I'm saying? But come on. No one fights for these titles in the women's division. Io Sky's been champion for 3 months, and not one woman on that Raw roster went up to Adam Pearce in a segment or said anything about, hey, I want to fight for world title gold. I want to win the power with the most title, or have the title with the most power. You know? No one says anything. No one cares. Gunter, it's the same thing. 7 title defenses in 260 or 270 days as champion, and he had the same 2 opponents. He fought Sammy, he fought Gunter, and then he fought Jey Uso. So that's 3 people. He only fought 3 different people for the world title in 8 months. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? That is embarrassing, man. This is why these championships mean absolutely nothing. And also, now that we've discussed this, we have to get to the part of the promo where Io Sky challenged Rhea to a match. Rhea Ripley then responds with, well, Io, I have to admit, yeah, that I'm going to take your title back, yeah. I'm going to take back my title that I never lost, yeah. I'm going to take it back at Evolution, yeah. And the blood is on your hands, bruv. It's on your hands, bruv. Take care of it, bruv. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about, man? I'll slaughter you. I'll slaughter you. Like, what is happening anymore, man? I'm doing Australian accents, British accents. It don't even matter no more. Scottish accents. You know, like, it doesn't matter. We are in the midst of an absolute nonsensical period of WWE. Rhea Ripley admitted on the Chris Van Vliet podcast last week, literally said that when she was champion, you know what I'm saying, in both of her title reigns, she was barely wrestling. So when she had to wrestle big matches on PLEs, like her match versus Becky Lynch at Mania 40, she used for an example, she had a lot of nerves because she wasn't used to practicing spots, and she didn't want the claims of the fans of, you know, Rhea Hogan and her being over pushed and not showing it in the ring. She was nervous because of all the pressure. Triple H is putting pressure on talent by not having them perform and not having them perfect their craft through live events or anything else. It is a joke, and it is an embarrassment. We now have Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky at Evolution for the World Heavyweight Championship, and if Io Sky loses this championship after having, this is her first defense since becoming champion 5 months ago. She defended it versus Rhea Ripley. No. She defended versus Rhea, and then Rhea and Bianca at Mania. So since Mania, she's had 1 title defense, and this is it. 1 title defense in 3 months. If Io Sky loses this belt, anyways, let's move on from this. We basically wasted our time on that segment, and now let's move on. And by the way, I'm tired of hearing about the excuse of, oh, well, there's no other heels on there's no heels in the women's division. Well, in these 9-month title reigns that you're giving everybody, why don't you actually build some heels in the meantime? I'm tired of hearing these excuses. I'm tired of face versus face matches and heel versus heel matches. Give me a feud and a storyline that has a great face, a great heel, and they're both credible and valid members of the roster. You know what I'm saying? Upper card level guys, or even mid card, or even, you know, main event level people. Have them have an elongated feud. It doesn't even need to be elongated, but just a good feud with good stories, good promos. Really make it feel like an intense feud, and then have it pay off in a great match or sequence of matches throughout a month or 2 span. Do not try and do this nonsense where these people have 5 title defenses in a year and then turn around and lose it randomly at a random Raw. It's a joke. Now, let's move on. We then get AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio, which this is a really funny backstage segment where Dominic Mysterio is basically complaining about how he's not cleared, and he had Adam Pearce sign a doctor's note. And then after this takes place, AJ Styles looks at the doctor's note with his glasses on. It's pretty funny. And he goes, yeah, you have a serious case of Punk A. And that was pretty funny to me, man. That was a really good segment. Put a smile on my face, so I had to call that out real quick. We then get to, dude, hold on. Before I talk about this match, this tag match with New Day versus Finn and JD was a very good match. I really enjoyed it. It was very entertaining, and it was a good match. But Phineas Balor, I'm going to say it again. Phineas Balor, who has not won a world title in like a decade. This dude actually kind of felt in ring-wise like he did back in the 2010s. He was kicking out of finishers, kicking out of signatures, actually doing his moves and putting his finishers, and the crowd was behind this guy in this match because you put heel versus heel, so the crowd has to cheer for someone. So it just happened to be the Judgment Day. It is embarrassing at this point, the heel versus heel matches, but that's not the point. This match was good, and Finn Balor actually felt like Finn Balor for the first time in a very, very long time. It sucks that it came at the expense of the New Day, who had a phenomenal heel turn by turning on Big E in a great segment, and that heel turn was absolutely 100% confirmed now to be wasted. It has gone nowhere. They've won nothing. They had the belts for what, 3 or 4 months and had 1 or 2 defenses. This has been a disaster. This heel turn was a waste of time, and I told you guys once this happened, I said it was a great segment in the moment, but nothing will come from this meaningful, and there will not be a good payoff from this moment. And sure enough, like I said, it happened. If I tell you that grass is going to turn to cheese, go find some crackers to put with the cheese, because your boy C. Jackson is not telling lies. You understand what I'm saying? That was a banger lie. Yo, your boy's cutting better promos than 95% of this roster, man. You know what I'm saying? Get me a contract, you dig? But anyways, that's not the point. The point is this match was very good. It had great drama, a great finish, and it actually had them kicking out of finishers, obviously, and there was some pretty solid chemistry between Kofi and Finn and also Xavier in this match, and somewhat JD McDonald's as well. So I enjoyed this. I thought it was entertaining. It was action-packed. Like I said, it had an unexpected win because I thought the New Day were just going to retain this match, and the crowd had to get behind someone because it's heel versus heel, so they chose the Judgment Day, and Finn Balor and JD McDonough, after a hard-fought match, ended up winning the tag team championships. Let's just hope that unlike their first reign, maybe they'll have more than one defense in 5 months. Now, let's move on. We then get Sheamus versus Rusev. Again, I like Sheamus. I have to admit, though, Rusev is one of the biggest jobbers, like, of all time. I don't know if there's really a case to believe anything otherwise at this point, but at the end of the day, you know, it just is what it is. Rusev comes out. I didn't even know it was him when his entrance hit. Like, no one in the crowd reacted because no one knows who this dude is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. You know, he's just a jobber. I don't care if he goes by Miro or Rusev. If you like it, you don't like it, you love it, you hate it, Rusev is a jobber, okay? But this match was semi-entertaining. There was a lot of just loud yelling from both of them. They'd hit someone to be like, oh, like, what the heck was that, bro? I mean, I guess, you know, wrestlers naturally yell and make noises because, you know, it's physicality, but still, like, the yelling that Rusev was doing, dude, you would think this dude is in a war zone. You know, so like relax yourself, okay? But good physicality. I thought the finish of this match was pretty stupid. There were some pretty good sequences. This match kind of lasted longer than it should have, in my opinion, but the sequences were solid here. Decent physicality, as I said. The ending was trash, okay? We're going to just open up a dialogue about Jessica Carr, this referee. I think that was who was refereeing this match. I forget who was, but whatever jobber was refereeing this match, these refs suck. You know what I'm saying? If you expose a turnbuckle, or for example, like Randy did at Night of Champions when he brought the chair into the ring, and the ref just throws the chair out, and then you get to expose a turnbuckle and use something that's not legal, and they don't care. I'm like, what do you care about? So I can't use a chair, but I can use some metal on the ring post. Like, what? Like a ring post. Like, what are we doing here? I don't understand it, man. At the end of this match, Rusev jams Sheamus' chest against, like, the exposed, like, turnbuckle area, you know, and then he brings Sheamus back in and hits him with a machka kick, you know. What kind of name is a machka kick? Anyways, Rusev hits the... Gosh, man. I cannot believe this, bro. Rusev hits a machka kick and knocks Sheamus completely out. After he knocks Sheamus out, he pins him 1, 2, 3, and then kisses him on the side of his head after he wins the match, and that's pretty much it. I don't know what to say about this. I don't care. They're probably going to drag this out for some few more months, but it is what it is. Sheamus' new gimmick, obviously for the last like year or two at this point, is just putting on a sequence of good matches with the same person, and then doing that again with the next person. So it is what it is. We then get a reveal that Ludwig Kaiser is now El Grande Americano. This would be funny until you realize that after a week or two, you will all be tired of this, and nobody will care. So it is what it is. We then move on from this. We have Sami Zayn he fights against Karrion Kross backstage. No one cares about this. The fact that Karrion Kross still has a job right now, I'm very nervous for what's going to happen with this dude going forward, because I don't think that he's going to be around for much longer in this company. I don't want anyone to lose their job, obviously, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, if he somehow gets, or not if he somehow, it's honestly kind of likely, but if Karrion Kross gets fired, you know, or he continues to job out and leaves the company, he can just go to AEW or just go to TNA and get a contract anyways, man. It's not the end-all be-all as WWE, so it is what it is. We then move on from this. We get Gunter. I didn't even break down what happened. Karrion Kross goes backstage, beats Sami up with a lead pipe, and then starts saying, say it, say it, say it. You know, it's like when Batista was in that one promo with Triple H, and he's like, give me what I want. You know, so, yeah, that's basically all this was. Karrion Kross beats up Sami, hurts his ribs, and then walks away. We still don't know where this is leading, and quite frankly, no one should really care where this is leading anymore. Like, let's be honest, nobody cares about this. We then get a Gunter promo, which I said this last week. No matter what Gunter says, until he actually feels like a legitimate threat in the ring, and he's wrestling consistently and telling great stories and has good feuds on, like, multiple good feuds, I am not taking this dude as anywhere near a credible main eventer or upper card guy. He got tapped out by Jey Uso. It took him 20 or 15 minutes to beat Patrick McAfee at Backlash, and then he beats Jey Uso, and now we're supposed to call this guy a threat? He's cutting promos on a nearly 60-year-old man in Goldberg who's about to retire. I'm like, what even is this? He says he's going to destroy the legacy of Bill Goldberg, the same thing he says last week, but it's not believable. He tapped out to Jey Uso. I'm not unseeing that. Until he beats a series of main eventers or upper card guys clean, I'm not believing that he's a credible foe or a credible threat. Seth Rollins then comes out and bores us to death, basically saying that this is going to be an all-out assault on both world championships. I don't know what that means, because I don't know how you're going to assault both world championships when you have one Money in the Bank, but again, who knows, who cares. We then move on to CM Punk coming out and brawling with Seth Rollins, the same thing we've been seeing now for months, so I don't care. CM Punk and Rollins brawl. Rollins then runs up and gets up in the crowd and runs away, and then after this happens, CM Punk gets back down off the turnbuckle after yelling at Rollins, and he basically pushes Gunter down to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Pretty hard push by CM Punk. So I guess that's setting up that CM Punk and Gunter may have some issues going forward. I really hope that Punk can take that world title off of Gunter at SummerSlam. I think that would be awesome. You could potentially build a decent feud, and I think Punk could help to elevate Gunter's storytelling and promo work game, and eventually give him maybe a pretty decent match at SummerSlam. So we'll just see what happens with that. And then LA Knight brawls with Seth Rollins. This is a pretty well done thing. Rollins is sitting up in the stands, and then, LA Knight kind of like fights with him a little bit, and they brawl into the crowd, like in the backstage area. So it was pretty nice, man. The live crowd got to be near the brawl, so I'm sure that was cool for them. And that's a situation with that. Then we basically move on. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're getting an LA Knight versus Seth Rollins match at Saturday Night Main Event. This is embarrassing at this point. LA Knight is someone who should have won the Money in the Bank. 3 back-to-back years he's been the favorite, that the fans wanted to win, and he has not won any Money in the Banks. Then we were like, you know what? Hey, he didn't win the Money in the Bank. Maybe he'll win the King of the Ring. He then loses the King of the Ring. After he loses the King of the Ring, he's now fighting Seth Rollins in an air match at Saturday Night Main Event. What is this match for? Seriously, if LA Knight wins, let's say LA Knight BFT Seth Rollins and pins him in 5 seconds. What does this improve? What changes? What happens now? Does LA Knight randomly shoot up and go get a world title? No, of course not. So it's not like he won the mid-card U.S. title belt and elevated from that to go feud with nobodies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's over at this point. So I don't know what's happening. LA Knight is world championship material that is being treated like an undercard jobber, and he's probably not going to even win this match. So where does he go from here? Seriously, I mean, it's a joke. Now, if they want to make this Saturday Night Main Event match between LA Knight and Rollins really something, they should put LA Knight versus Seth Rollins at Saturday Night Main Event in a actual ladder match or a tables match or some type of stipulation in which the winner gets the Money in the Bank briefcase. And maybe that's when Roman Reigns returns in order to build up 2 weeks before SummerSlam maybe and have a match with Rollins at that show and cost Rollins his Money in the Bank match, so LA Knight then wins the Money in the Bank. And then after the Cena versus Cody match, maybe LA Knight cashes in and becomes WWE champion. Or maybe after the Gunter versus whoever match, he can become world champion that way. He gets a big SummerSlam moment and gets a world title. That would be sick. That would be awesome. But knowing that it's going to be awesome and good, Triple H ain't going to do it. So there you go. We then move on from this. We get a backstage segment with the Judgment Day where basically Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez are officially made the new women's tag team champions, and they will be fighting a fatal 4-way tag team women's championship match at Evolution. And Finn Balor and JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio and now Roxanne and Raquel are both champs. Liv Morgan's kind of been written out of this whole entire thing, so they're kind of writing her off, and Finn's trying to phase her out of the group, obviously, now that she's injured, and that's basically the story with this. I'm glad the Judgment Day is having some reinvigorated fuel, kind of. Honestly, turning them face is not a terrible idea, because I feel like Dominic Mysterio and Finn and JD, like Dominic's already kind of over. I feel like Finn and JD can probably get over, just because of what I saw tonight. If Finn and JD do kind of like these comedy, like laughable segments, and then they go out and wrestle good matches, I feel like over time, because of Finn's, seniority with the company, I feel like eventually you can get them over as faces. I don't know about Roxanne and Raquel. I don't know if they're good enough, but we'll just see what happens with that. We then move on to Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria. I'm not wasting my time on this match. This was garbage. I don't care about it. There was multiple botches, obviously, and this Lyra and Bayley storyline, where this is the part where Jessica Carr becomes an issue, right? Number one, in Michael Cole in this match too on commentary goes, the winner of this match fights Becky Lynch for an IC championship match down the road. What do you mean down the road? You have Saturday Night Main Event, you have Evolution in the same weekend in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, you have SummerSlam. What do you mean down the road? You mean in 2 weeks, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? Down the road? It should be in 2 weeks immediately. What are you talking about? Anyways, what's it called? Jessica Carr sees that both of the opponents' shoulders are down, which remember, Jessica Carr's the same official that literally we saw in Jade Cargill's last few matches, always inspects to see if both shoulders are down when the wrestler is getting pinned. But for some reason here, she sees both shoulders down and counts to 3. What is the logic on this? And now because this isn't a fully settled thing, now we have a Bayley and Lyra Valkyria forced feud, and I'm sure this will eventually turn into a triple threat with Becky for the IC title somewhere down the road, quote unquote, according to Michael Cole. The main event of Raw, I didn't even watch this live because nobody cares. I haven't watched the actual Raw main event live in weeks at this point because none of them matter. The Cody versus Jey Uso match was decent, I'll give it that, but this doesn't matter. It's Sami Zayn and Penta versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Obviously, it's going to divulge into a brawl in which Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker beat the crap out of Sami Zayn and Penta, and then afterwards Jey Uso comes out, they yeet all over the place, and Jey Uso stands tall, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing to say about this. This is not a main event level segment on a Raw show or any show in general, so it is what it is. At the end of the day, this Raw episode was laughably bad, but because I was able to laugh at it and poke fun at the shortcomings of this garbage product and the awful booker that is Triple H, I'm going to give this show a 2 out of 10 anyways, because at the end of the day, outside of the New Day versus Judgment Day match and basically that backstage segment with AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio, and the fact that I got to laugh at it a little bit, I'll up it up to a 3 out of 10. You know, just to put a smile on some faces. You know what I'm saying? This episode was garbage, laughable garbage, and that's all it was. Let me know what you thought about Raw in the comment sections below. And as always, I thank you guys for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Yeah. Peace out and one love.